Hello and welcome to the latest video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout, looking ahead to Game Week 20. This time we're focusing on those underachievers on the goals imminent table. This is the start of a regular video and podcast. We'll be looking ahead to the game week. Myself and Tom have taken a break from the captaincy video because basically we just say Haaland and some other blokes each week, and it was getting a bit samey. So we're taking a bit of a break from captaincy. We're going to look at goals imminent instead. So there are plenty of FA Cup matches to go. We'll reveal our early thoughts and our teams for Game Week 20 as well. We'll also look at the goals imminent tables sister table, the assists imminent table. In addition, Tom and I will take any questions from the live chatters at the end as well to reveal our early team thoughts. My name is Joe, and joining me to unearth some of those under the radar gems is Tom Freeman, Fantasy Football Scout's deputy editor. Tom, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Joe. Good to be back. It's been a while, hasn't it? We obviously stopped the captaincy prior to Christmas for obvious reasons, and now kind of on this, which feels good.
Yep.
Allows us to talk about our own teams a little bit more than we did so in those videos, transfer plans, and like you say, hopefully we can pick out a few kind of gems under the radar, gems in the coming kind of weeks and stuff. So
definitely,
good.
Definitely. And this will have a bit more of a community focus as well. I mean, when I originally joined the Scoutcast many years ago, I was the community guy there. So the live chat will be very important there. So welcome those joining us in the live chat already. G-Wiz, Rowan, Ryan, FPL veteran, Mahmood, and many more. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to have an opportunity at the end to do a sort of a live chat Q&A. So think about your questions, and then at the end post them in the live chat, and then me and Tom will do our best to answer them about our team, about members' stats. Tom knows all sorts about the stats. I just know a little bit about some of the tables, like these ones we're about to show. But he's day in, day out, he mines the stats for you on the pages of Fantasy Football Scout. So well worth asking him some questions as well. What we're going to look at is we're sort of hooking this around the goals imminent table. It's the most popular table on the Fantasy Football Scout members area. So members can look at that anytime they want, really. And basically what it is, it's a table where, like all tables and all underlying stats, we're hoping to use underlying stats to try and predict future returns. Now, what we're not saying is they will definitely score, they will definitely assist. Because if they did that, me and Tom wouldn't be sitting here. We'd be on our billionaire islands in a bath of gold. Just saying, no, I don't think I'll do a stream today because I'm too rich. But we're not. So we do our best. We try and predict those future returns. And the goals imminent table, usually it's got a minimum of 10 shots with a maximum of 1 goal. And so it's sorted by expected delta for the last 4 matches. What does that mean? It's basically underperforming. So they should have scored this, but they haven't for whatever reason. And there's lots of other data in it, like shots inside the box, which I know the XG crowd hate, and also shots on target as well, just to get an idea of where they're shooting from and how close they are to goal as well. As matches are uneven, I do it last 4 matches, and that's because of double game weeks and stuff. At the moment, after the World Cup restart, because things are different after game week 17, I'm temporarily set it to 7 goal attempts, 1 goal maximum from game week 17 until we can get 4 weeks worth of data, and that's where it really comes into its own. But we'll do it there. So without further ado, we'll have a look at the first one. This is for game week 20, last few game weeks. Who is due a goal? And Tom, I know you've seen it already, but surprise, who is top? Who is the poster boy for not scoring but shooting a lot? Okay, well, I mean, he's top. Darwin Nunez. He's had 12 shots inside the box, 16 goal attempts, 6 shots on target, and his XG delta, he basically telling us that he should have scored pretty much nearly 3 goals over that time. He scored none. He's had 7 big chances, and he's missed a lot. So, Tom, do we think he's going to stay on this table forever? Will he fall off because his stats have fallen off a cliff? or will he fall off because he scored? So shall we keep him?
Well, I've just written 2,000 words on this on the website for anybody interested who really wants to dive into it. But what I shall do now is try and kind of give a rough overview of what I said in the article, and then you can go and have a look at that if you want to know more. But so put the kind of the finishing aside, and if we just look at his kind of output in isolation, I think Darwin's got 4 goals in his last 9 matches with a couple of assists. So that feels okay for an £8.9 million forward. But obviously, the underlyings hint at much, much more, as we can see there. I mean, I think across the season, he's missed 15 big chances more than any other player. And I think he's only scored four of his big chances in total. Massively down compared to somebody like Haaland, who's probably converting about 60% of his big chances, possibly more. I do think Darwin's been a bit unlucky. He's hit the woodwork more than any other player this year. He's already done it since the restart against Leicester when he got the assist. And I think you probably saw the Brentford match the other night, Joe. He rounded David Raya early on and had the goal cleared off the shot cleared off the line. He then had a goal of his own disallowed, which was a really nice finish, actually, wasn't it? And he was marginally offside. So it just isn't falling for him right now. I'm a big believer in that if players are getting chances, I think that's a really positive thing. And I think eventually they will turn it round. And for me, in my own team, which we'll look at later on, it makes sense to keep Darwin a little bit longer. I haven't got an easy route to Kane or anything like that. So I'm happy to give him a bit longer. I think he will turn it round, but I completely get people losing patience and wanting to move him on.
Yeah, I mean, with me, I mean, as I said, there are certain outcomes of those that appear on this table. They either just drop off because they score. So that's great. They're the players you want. And usually, if you see, like, say, Salah, so Salah's there at the moment, we'll come to him in a bit, but Salah or, big name strikers and big name, prolific strikers, but those who get, 10 to 20, even more goals a season. And you see them on here, they're going to score at some point. So that's a good thing. Sometimes they drop off because their stats aren't just peter off. They had maybe 1 or 2 really great games and they just haven't really shown that as well. And you often see that with some of the sort of so-called lesser teams. And then the third way, and I call this the Nathan Redmond clause, basically they just stay here forever and they never score and they keep shooting. And they keep posting amazing stats and their expected goals are great and they never score. And that's Nathan Redmond. Although he did once, I think. But he was here forever. And so that's what I sum up, really. Is Darwin Nunez, is he like... I remember Ibrahimovic was here for ages, about 6 game weeks. He was on this table. He eventually dropped off because he scored. I have a feeling that's going to be him because he plays for a good team. Darwin... plays for a good team. He is good and he is placing these good stats. But at the same time, I wonder, do I want that player in my team? Do I want someone who perhaps I don't know enough about? With Ibrahimovic, I had about 30 years worth of data for him to say he's going to score eventually, or 25 years worth. But with Darwin Nunez, I don't know. Is this him forever? Is he Nathan Redmond?
Well, he's a much younger, isn't he? So I mean, I think his goal conversion rate. I think last season in Portugal was something around about 30%, which was exceptionally high, and it's regressed this year to something massively low. I think it's something about 9% this year in the shot to goal conversion. So we're still finding out about Darwin, but I've seen enough to think that he will go. He will return in a big way soon. I'm not sure if he can do it, how consistently he can do it, but I think that there will be a game when he gets double digits. I think Liverpool, although their form, certainly at Brentford, they didn't look great at all. In an attacking sense, they're putting up good numbers. They're still creating quality chances for Darwin, so I'm not so concerned about that. And I think Gakpo coming in as well, I think it's good for Liverpool's attack. He's a goal scorer, but he's a creator too. So I think they've played Oxlade-Chamberlain on the left in the last 3 games. So I think suddenly then going up to somebody of Gakpo's quality, that's going to have an impact on Darwin as well. So I'm willing to stick a little bit longer, but I get that some people might think, well, I'm gonna leave now. wait till he gets that first goal and then maybe jump back on them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where I am. I think I don't know whether he's going to be consistent enough for me to want. So what I might do is risk missing a haul, and that haul will signal it's probably time to get him back in. And I think with him, he's sort of a reverse chasing points player. It's not just he scored. Oh, you're only getting him because he scored in that game. Well, yes, I am sort of only getting him if he scored in that game. But with him, it does signal that it's that confidence is back, that extra 1% or whatever he needs to be able to hit the target, to actually hit the target well, and shoot closer to goal and those types of things. And that's what I'm looking out for, really. So for me, I'm perfectly willing to jettison him at the moment. And I certainly have Kane in my sights, who doesn't appear on this table because his goals obviously have come already. They're not imminent anymore. They're every week. And that's what I want. But he is on 4 yellows, so something to weigh up. It's definitely something to weigh up. I mean, I'll skip the second one. We'll come to Bailey in a sec, but I just want to Salah, because that's tied up really with Darwin Nunez. He's had 3 big chances, Salah. He's missed 2 of them, so he's a bit better. He has scored. He's had 4 shots on target, 8 shots inside the box, and just 8 shots. So it's less than Nunez, but it's still very good stats. My experience of Salah on this table is this is quite normal. 2 or 3 games, might not score, then he will, and then he jumps off. So if I had Salah, I wouldn't be worried. Would you?
No, I'm not concerned. I own Salah, but I've got so much experience with Salah that, like you say, he can often go these couple of games where he doesn't score and then he hits back. He wasn't great at Brentford, I'll admit, but the game before against Leicester, thought he got in some good positions in the box. And it's Salah. It's Salah. We know what we're getting. I'm not in a position in my team really where I can focus on that. That's a kind of a leave to one side for a few weeks now. I think the fixtures are okay for Liverpool. They've got Brighton next, your team, Joe, who are scoring a lot of goals, but they're probably a little bit more open under Zerbi. So it's not terrible for Darwin and Salah. That's from my perspective as an outsider watching it anyway. And then I think they've got Chelsea and then maybe Wolves and Everton. So the fixtures are okay for Liverpool.
Yeah. I mean, Brighton, I'm biased as a Brighton fan, but Brighton should be everyone's second team because they are exciting and they concede a lot. So if your team faces them, you got a chance of scoring and maybe winning. But meanwhile, you're going to see loads of goals from Brighton, and you're going to see loads of goals from all over the shop. And I noticed that Matoma's, becoming more prolific recently. And one of the, I was reading something quite amazing about him because he went to university rather than take a professional contract, and then took his professional contract later. And one of the things he did in his university degree was examine the art of dribbling, and he used sort of GoPro on that. And then someone saw one of the clips of one of his recent goals, and you could see his dribbling, and it was all about making space and avoiding players. And he dribbled. You could see him dribbling past the players, almost as if it was a mathematical equation. Okay. And so so a player I'm looking at definitely. Once again, it doesn't appear on here.
4.9, isn't it? He's 4.9, isn't he, Joe? And you've got Ferguson as well, the budget forward as well, who's kind of emerged. Whether or not he can hold down a place, I'm not sure. But anyway, we're diverting, aren't we? But
definitely.
Good options.
So good option there. I'll come to Bailey now. Bailey is second on here. His expected goals delta is, so he should have scored, they think, at least 1 1/3 goal more than he has. He scored none in the last since Gameweek 17. He's had 6 shots inside the box, 7 shots in total. 2 big chances. He's missed them both, but nevertheless had 2 big chances. Just 1 shot on target though. What do you think? Is Bailey one of those players that might sort of drop down because his stats go off, or do you think he's going to his owners should keep?
Well, he missed an absolute sitter against Wolves the other night. It was a head in the hands moment. It was in the dying kind of moments of the game. He rounded the keeper and then put it wide, and would have got us the 3 points as well. I think that he's 4.5. So look, there's not much risk with a 4.5 player. The only concern which I have with Bailey and Watkins, who appears on this list, who I do like, is that Ings is making an impact. He came on the other day and got the equalising goal, and he actually scored 2 at Brighton, Joe, as you will remember, pre-restart.
Yeah, I wish we had Ings in our team.
Yeah, I mean, he comes on and he scores goals, and it makes me think that there's been a few rumours going around that he might be off, but Emery said, well, look, he's not one of the players that we're looking to offload. I think Everton were linked with him a couple of days ago. But that's the only worry that with players like Bailey, that we're playing like a 4-4-2 system basically under Emery, with two, and Bailey's in one of those forward spots. So if Bailey continues to be on this table, will there come a point when Emery thinks, well, I'm going to try Ings up there? He's scoring goals off the bench. So that would be the only thing that would put me off a bit. But Bailey, yeah, I mean, I can see him appearing on this table a bit over the next few weeks if he does continue starting.
Yeah, that's he's not quite Nathan Redmond levels, but I personally wouldn't go there because I don't know. I just think it's a shot. You mentioned Watkins there though. 8 shots, all inside the box. A couple of big chances. Only missed one of them. And 3 shots on target there. So these are impressive numbers. Got him in one of my Sky team, and he didn't do so well this week. But I have high hopes. I like him. He seems to return a lot under the new manager.
He's returned in every game prior to Wolves under Emery. So there's a lot to like there. I think he'll build the system a little bit. The way they play around him. It's just very hard to fit a player like Watkins in right now. A lot of us have gone for Mitrovic now in that kind of that £7 million bracket. So to fit Watkins in it feels really difficult. And we've only got the next couple of fixtures are okay, but then I think there's probably better forwards in that price bracket like Nketiah and things like that. So hard to get him in.
Now, Man City guys are in here. Now, De Bruyne. Now, Man City, at the time of streaming this, they might have a double game week, depending on what happens to the FA Cup this weekend. So they might have a double game week 20, in which case De Bruyne will be very popular. I can see Salah owners moving to him. He's 12.5. He's had 4 shots on target, no big chances. Big chances 0, so he hasn't missed any there. So just 4 shots on target, but 11 shots. So that's a typical midfielder. That's a sort of Coutinho, Philip Coutinho, when he was on here at Liverpool. He was often on this table and then he'd hop off because one of his amazing long-range shots would go in. So De Bruyne, I think, still is the assist man, but this shows that he has a goal in him. He could score. So he's expected to have scored 0.79. So let's call it a goal. So he's expected to have scored at least once since game week 17. And he certainly looked good. I don't know if he's in your team. I know you've got Phil Foden in your team. De Bruyne owners, can they feel that a goal is imminent soon?
I think owners have maybe been a bit unlucky over the last 3 weeks to not get any points from him, but he's only taken 12 shots in the box all season. It's different with Haaland in that setup. He is all about the assists, and we spoke about this at length during the restart that he will grab the old goal because with a long ranger, but I don't think that's what you're really getting him in for. I think it is assists. And the good thing is with KDB is that the assists are often worth more than 3 points anyway, because often you get bonus on top of that. So I think if you own him, I think he's a definite hold. Obviously, he's got a double game week, and he will rack up a big haul soon. It's De Bruyne, I'm not looking to switch Salah to De Bruyne. I've currently got Foden, which was a really bad experiment from game week 17, and he's still in there. And now I've got to really think carefully about what I do if they get the double, because obviously the Grealish and Mahrez look ahead right now in those wide positions, and Mahrez interests me, and Grealish probably more for his assist potential like De Bruyne. But again, if he gets 2 starts, then you'd expect him to pick up some points.
Grealish is on this table as well. It's the same expected goal data, so the same expected to have scored metric there of 0.79. He's had 7 shots, and all are inside the box, but none on target. That is quite unusual. And that one of the things I quite like about this table is it sort of tells you in stat form what's happening there. You very rarely see a player being quite so prolific with close range efforts. I mean, you would expect at least one to be at the target, but to miss them all, that's special.
When he was at Villa, he went through long spells where he wouldn't get a goal, and then he had a bit of a purple patch, which I can remember owning him in FPL, and he did very well for a few months for us. But Grealish, again, don't get him in for the goals. If you get one, it's a bonus. It's about assists with him, and as we saw with his assists now, and I think he's got 3 assists since the restart, which we might have a look at. Well, we won't be on that table and assist imminent because he is assisting, but that's what you get him in for.
We've got three more sort of groups of players we'll talk about before we move on to the assist imminent table. But it's the Manchester United players. Anthony, according to this, with his 3 shots on target, 5 inside the box, he was expected to score pretty much a goal over that time, 0.86, but he hasn't. So his owners could have easily had a return there. He had a shot, a big chance, and missed it. And the same with Fernandes as well. No big chances, so he hasn't missed any because he hasn't had any big chances. But he's a couple of shots on target, 8 shots, and just 3 inside the box. So that says to me, Fernandes is not a player I would be looking to get in. And if I had, I'd be slightly worried because he's not prolific. He's not shooting inside the near to goal enough, and he's not accurate enough. Is that a fair assessment of him?
Well, he switched position in the last match, and Van der Beek was with him, and they were kind of rotating a little bit from what I saw of the match. But I mean, is he going to be on penalties without Ronaldo? I mean, that's going to give him a nice little boost if he is, but it could be Martial as well if he's playing. So yeah, Fernandes, I think the time for go for Fernandes was probably game week 17. So you've got that good run of United fixtures. The only way I'd look at him now is if they get a double game week 20, which has been flagged up that it could be a possibility if they beat Everton this weekend. It'd obviously be a very late addition, and I'm not quite sure of the likelihood of it, but it has been mooted. So that's something to keep an eye on. But without that, I mean, it's a single game against City, isn't it? So I wouldn't be looking at any United players this week.
Another player to consider, and I like this one, is Cher, 5 million, defender, Newcastle. A defender is a rare beast on this table. Because they very rarely post the stats to warrant inclusion. They can score, obviously. We saw Luke Shaw's score recently, but they very rarely post the stats to sort of warrant inclusion. The stats indicate they're due a goal. So he's had 3 big chances, missed them all. For a defender to have 3 big chances is pretty good. Just 1 shot on target, that's more like it. That's a defender. But he's had 7 shots and all at close range as well. And he should have scored 0.74. So his expected goal delta is what he should have got there. So no goals. I think he's the sort of differential we need if we want to move up the rankings, isn't he?
Well, set piece threat. I presume that most of those shots. I haven't watched all of Newcastle's games, but there's if he's in the box, it must be from that the kind of crosses into the box. Newcastle, I mean, there's amazing value there in players like Botman as well. It wouldn't surprise me. Botman's got a bit of a threat from set pieces. It wouldn't be a massive surprise if he was flagged up on this list some point in the coming weeks as well. Shah's just that difficult price point, isn't he? Because if he's consistently posting those numbers, then there's an argument to get him over Botman. But is this just are we going to come back to this list in a few weeks' time? He's dropped off. So that's why it's going to be interesting looking at the list and monitoring it. Because we've all got Trippier, right?
Yeah, I'm really pleased we're looking at this in video form because we can go back and have a look, and it gives that indication. So we can look at where Cher is on this list, and if he drops off because he hasn't scored, then we know that. But if he starts moving higher, then we know that they gradually sort of, it's like boiling point. They move to the top, unless you're called Nathan Redmond or Darwin Nunez, move to the top and then eventually score. They hop off. Another one is the final one I mentioned is Joe Ellington at Newcastle, not Joe Linton as people call him. As I said on the Scoutcast, I've discussed this with Brazilians and Joe Ellington. Joe Ellington. It was described to me thinking it was Duke Ellington's son. So he is 5.9. He's had a couple of big chances. He scored as well. He's interesting because his expected goals delta, he's marginally overperforming, only marginally, but it's small enough to warrant inclusion on here because of his 7 shots and 6 inside the box. So, it's pointed out in the live chat by, I'm not going to pronounce it because it's JGFDFGFD. Just type that in quickly. He says that Shah did get a big haul in game week 1 too. So, Share does have that haul in him. It's just trying to pinpoint when that is. But Joe Ellington is an interesting one. There's so many Newcastle options, though, aren't they? So, he's a good differential, but I don't think many people go there. But I'll be interested to see if he stays on this table or not, though.
Yeah. He kind of has this varying role in the team. He's sometimes on the left wing, and then he's sometimes in more of a central midfield kind of box-to-box role. But then you've got to say, why would you go for him over Almiron, who's been doing obviously very well? Again, it's that if you really want to go for a differential, they've got Fulham next. But I don't think many people will see that as a priority this week, given the double situation, and that we've all got major surgery with our teams with Man City players probably. So.
Okay, so we'll find out in game week 20 whether they were goals imminent or goals not very imminent. Assist imminent table, here we go. Let's put this one up here. So what I've done is I've discounted, there were 4 or 5 towards the end of this who were in sort of plus expected delta, so they were sort of marginally overperforming. So I've got the underperformers, that's all. So this is game weeks 17 and 19. Now what have I done here? So I've kindly written out for myself here, this is a minimum of 7 chances created, but no more than 1 assist in the last 4 matches, and once again sorted by that minus expected delta, and in this case it's assists rather than goals, i.e. basically posh way of saying underperforming. For the post World Cup restart, I'm focusing on game week 17 onwards until we can get 4 matches worth of data. De Bruyne is top of this, and this is more like it for De Bruyne. 12 chances created. He's taken 6 corners. Corners are quite good indicator here for assist potential. No goals and no assists there. 22 crosses. So you take enough crosses, some will be successful. 8 have been successful there. He should have at least assisted once. But looking at him, I thought he should have assisted about 4 times so far. But yeah, this as a De Bruyne owner, I like this. This looks good, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a matter of time, isn't it? He's surely going to get something over the double. Owners, like I said earlier, have been a bit unfortunate that they haven't had more from him in the three game weeks since the restart, and no problem holding him. The points are on the way, I'm sure.
Definitely. Now, Rodri, I've got him in my Sky team because he's a monster for the old passing and tackling bonus, but 7 chances created. No assists, no crosses, no corners, nothing like that as well. So a bit less, but nevertheless, if you want a Man City player that plays 60 minutes and has the off chance of an assist, I mean, to be honest, Rodri's a better option than Foden and Cancelo at the moment. So why not?
Play, isn't he? Yeah.
Saka owners, 4 yellow cards he's on, 8 chances, 8 corners, and 3 successful crosses out of 16. A hell of a lot of crosses there. His expected assist delta, he should have scored, he should have assisted about half a goal. So promising numbers there. Eze at Crystal Palace, intriguing. I don't think people are going to go for Crystal Palace, but Eze got strong assist potential there with 7 chances created. Pereira at Fulham. Few people, I think has captained him. Few people have got him as captain because Fulham's double game week in game 19. Should feel confident. He's taken 10 corners, 7 chances, 17 crosses. He won't have Mitrovic's head to aim at this time. But he is on penalties, we think, if Mitrovic isn't on the pitch. So Pereira looks assist imminent, I would say, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you look at chances created across the season, only De Bruyne has created more, and that offers incredible value at, 4.6 million. So if you captained him, there's still a chance you'll get something from Stamford Bridge. So, like you say, he could be on penalties without Mitrovic, so that could still work out. And I really like Saka on that list. I mean, I'm kicking myself for going Foden over Saka 3 weeks ago because I think I'm 15 points down on that move. Yeah. And he's somebody from game week 22 that I'm kind of prioritising a move for a second Arsenal attacker. And he's the one I want, I think, because it's assist potential, but he's probably on penalties too. He's got goal threat. He's an underrated option, I think.
Well, thinking ahead, I've just got rid of Nketiah for Mitrovic for the last game week because I was maxed out on Arsenal, with a view actually to do exactly what you just said. Saka or Odegaard, I think, will give me more points long term. So I'm gonna go for that. So yeah, I totally agree there. So I like this lot. So going forwards for the future game weeks, we'll keep monitoring this one as well to see if the assists, see if these chances created stack up to assists. Thanks so much for nearly 400 of you joining us in the live chat. Now, me and Tom are going to talk about our teams and our plans for Game Week 20. What sort of we got in mind, and a bit up in the air at the moment because of the FA Cup, but we'll do our best there. During that time, if you could put some questions, anyone in the live chat, if you put some questions in the chat, afterwards me and Tom will do our best to answer them. So, Tom, let's put your team up. I'll go through it by name, just for the benefit of those listening to the podcast, and then you can talk about what plans you've got. So you've got Kepa in goal, Trippier, Gabriel, and Cancelo, who might have a double game week. In a 3-4-3, you've got Salah, Foden, might have a double game week, Rashford, Martinelli, Mitrovic, Darwin, and Haaland, who is your captain, of course, because of that double game. On the bench, you've got Patterson. He's not flagged here because I took this picture from you a few days ago, but he is now flagged for a few weeks. Ward is also on the bench, Bueno on the bench, and Andreas, who faces Newcastle, on the bench. So what's your plans with this lot?
Well, I'm waiting like everybody else. Let's see what happens in the FA Cup over the weekend. That will dictate if City are going to double, if Spurs are going to double. You never know. We might get an additional team thrown in as well. There's been talk of Man United against either Palace or Leeds. So hard to say too much at the moment. There is some areas which are concerning me, which is the same, I think, for everybody who owns Cancelo. He's obviously taken off at half-time last night. He was played out of position, which Pep spoke about after the match and said he felt a bit sorry for him for doing that to Cancelo. He was obviously uncomfortable. Now, what that means, I don't know. If they have a double, it strangely makes me feel probably a little bit more confident about players like Cancelo and Foden, because you'd hope that over the two games that they might get one start at least, and then maybe minutes off the bench. But there is other emerging City players which I've got to consider, like Mahrez and Grealish, because I could easily move from Foden to them if I think they're going to get more minutes. Both, does that feel a bit short term because the landscape changes so quickly at City with their outfield players, perhaps, but it might be something I look at. Kane doesn't work for me in this current setup. It would require a hit. And it would mean that I'd probably have to lose Foden in the 8 million slot. And I want to keep that slot there potentially for Saka in a couple of weeks. Kane is on 4 yellow cards. He's got a tough double game week. He's got City and Arsenal. Spurs haven't been great, let's be honest, recently either. They look good second half against Palace. But I think if I could do it in one move, I'd be more tempted to look at it. But it's not really on my radar at the moment. I completely see why people are going to do it, because Kane can score against anybody. So if you're backing Spurs to improve, I see why you're looking at him. I might even roll, I might even not do anything with this team this week. It really depends on what happens at the weekend. I've got a lot of options at the moment. I like Rodrigo too as well this week, and he's a player which I could look at, but let's see what develops.
Yeah. Manchester United could have a double as well. Obviously, one of those against Manchester City. Rashford, I like for Rashford for tough games. I like him for easy games as well. I'll come to my team in a minute, but Rashford's going nowhere at the moment. Is he going nowhere for you too?
No, I'm more than happy with him. If United did get a double, though, there's one player that I'm missing from United who's hurt me this week, in Luke Shaw. So I might have to look at something like that, because I wouldn't want to go in, albeit one of the games is against City. I don't think I really want to go into it without him if they are going to play twice, because we saw what he can do against, who did they play? I forget. Was it Bournemouth? Yeah, Bournemouth, wasn't it? Yeah. So let's see anyway. Yeah, a bit up in the air. Sorry for being vague, but
No.
there's a lot.
It is up in the air. Obviously, Haaland captain. I mean, that's our nod to the captaincy video. This is what we should have done for that last one. Anyway, just keep doing it about 3 seconds. So yeah, Haaland captain. We know why. Do keep those questions coming in the live chat, by the way, because we'll come to those in a sec. Okay, a bit to think about and a lot depending on the FA Cup there. So here's my team, quite similar, 3-4-3 as well, old school. I've got Kepa in goal, Trippier, Cancelo, and White currently in a back three. I've got Rashford, De Bruyne, my vice captain, could have a double. Martinelli, Kulusevski, who might come back from injury, I hope. Well, I hope so because we should have a double game week. I've got Mitrovic up front, Haaland and Darwin, and then on my bench, I'm going to bench Luke Shaw this time around. But Luke Shaw and White, I don't. I'm happy to play both of them. I don't mind. Luke Shaw's my first sub. I like him a lot, and he might well come in. I've got Ward on the bench as well, Andreas, and the injured Patterson. Every time I get Patterson in, he gets injured. He looks really promising. Everton look rubbish, and then he gets injured. So that's my Patterson narrative, which is not good. My thoughts for this are, well, I'm going to wait and see if Kulusevski's well. If he's looking very, very dodgy for at least one of those fixtures, because they are tough. I want them to play twice. Spurs, because they've got two potential, their potential double is Arsenal and Manchester City. So Kulusevski I would like to keep, but if not, I am tempted to take a hit. I don't want Darwin anymore, and in order to free up money to get Kane and take a punt on Kane, who I think is remarkably consistent, and I think whether he gets a suspension with his 5th yellow card or not, he's just a player I want. It's a structure I want. I had it sort of in mind slightly over the Christmas, sort of having Haaland and Kane and De Bruyne, having that sort of structure, that threemium. And I think I like that, and I think I want to move that way. So Kulusevski could be for the chop. Put him down to someone like Matoma, or any of the fabulous Brighton players. There's so many cheap ones. Solly March as well, or Cancelo. And this is probably the likely one. Cancelo may be good, but there's clearly Pep hates him at the moment. And his comments on him saying, "Oh, I felt sorry for him putting him in a wing position." It was almost like a test, wasn't it? It was almost like he was like trying to goad him. But and then he said, other matches we could play him at fullback. I thought he was like the first name on the team sheet. So
it's not what you want to hear when you've got 7 million invested in them, is it? So.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm not so. Just not a player I want. I can move him down to basically his replacement, Rico Lewis, who I think will get at least a game or both of those games, and then that's a really good option. I can and use that to bump Darwin up to Kane. I mentioned it a while ago when I got Nketiah in for a few matches. It was a Meet the Manager video that I did with Josh from Always Cheating, and he said if the game throws you a bone, you take it, and. Yeah. A 6 or 7 million or so starting striker for the league leaders in Nketiah was that moment, especially while they had good fixtures. And I think a 3.9 starting defender for Manchester City, who Pep seems to want to marry. He loves him so much. It just looks like another bone that looks too hard to turn down. So yeah, I'm up for a hit. Which would be good for you because we're almost equal, aren't we?
We're exactly level.
Are we?
I think, and we've got the same players left. I think in the Chelsea Fulham match, so we're going to go into Gameweek 20 level regardless. So it's interesting. Yeah, I mean we've got quite similar setups, haven't we, Joe? Yeah. So it'll be nice. You've got De Bruyne, I've got Salah, but you've got Kulusevski, I've got Foden, but generally they're pretty similar.
Yeah, so, it's a similar setup.
Yeah. As we kind of move forward in the second half of the season, they're going to get different. People are going to try different things, aren't they? The later we get, so it'll be interesting to see. It'd be nice if we had a bit of a running battle on this, which we can talk about next week. So that'd be good because we're quite similar as well. It'd be like if I was on a
podcast with Zoph from FPL Wire, because he's really similar to me as well, and he has got the exact same team as me at the moment. And
I think Zoph was talking about Kane. I'm sure I saw it online earlier. I think he's
no
got
doubt.
enough money to do it in one move. So
if I'm thinking it, he is. If he's thinking it, I am. So it's just so that's what I'm thinking really. So it's that freemium option going for there. So we're both around. For those that we haven't put our ranks up here because I don't like to do that, but if they make us, so we will. But we're both around the 170k at the moment. I'm on a marginal green, and you're maybe on a marginal red.
I am. It's been. I came into game week 17 and I was about 80k, and I've had a roughish couple of weeks, but it's quite fine margins. When Mitrovic scored that goal the other night and he was on for maximum bonus, I was at 60k overall. And then obviously got the book in, lost the bonus. Shaw got that haul as well. I've tumbled down a bit. But it's pretty close up there. I think if you have a good week, I think both of us will suddenly be in the top 100k. Obviously in a good position to attack the remainder of the season. So it's close.
Yeah. Like you, I'll either do something or not. I might. I don't know if I'll roll here, but Darwin to Kane is a move I would like to do, and I could use that hit to do something a bit more long term, and go for some different options there. Particularly remove Cancelo, not keen on. Okay, so we've got some questions in the live chat as well. Just a reminder for everyone, press the subscribe button and do press that like button as well. That really helps us. What we're going to be doing with this video, this will be 1 o'clock on Tuesdays most weeks, like the captaincy video that we had in the podcast. So join that stream there. And as I said, this has got a bit more of a live chat focus there as well. So I'm going to go through the questions. I'll go sort of move up really. So what are we going for here? Doofus asks, Evan Ferguson is just saying, it's more of a statement really, but is tempting as an enabler from Gameweek 21. Yeah, what do you think? I've got Mitrovic in that sort of third striker role, but yeah, I could save about three.
I'm gonna pass this one over to you, Joe, as the Brighton expert. So do you think once Welbeck's back, do you think he can? It'll be rotated a bit surely at 4.5.
Okay, he won't start every game, but he will get minutes most games, probably all games. He could score frequently. But he's
the better option over somebody like Greenwood at the moment. Yeah. If you want that budget slot, definitely.
He's in a more attacking side. And no offense to Leeds. I mean, Leeds. I think Leeds are a great side. Actually, I think they've got lots of good options there, including Greenwood. But I do think that Ferguson's probably the best of that. So if you are looking at a 4.5 striker, I think he is good. Really, FPL Cowboy Rico Lewis under the radar at 3.9. Well, we've just spoken about that. Yes, of course. Predictions for next wacky tactic Pep is going to try. What do you reckon? Cancelo as a winger, a 3.9 child as the new Cancelo. What's the next tactic, do you think?
Well, I think because these games are difficult games in the fact they play United and a derby and Spurs. I think Pep's he talks about control with Grealish and Mahrez a lot and having those players, and I think he's going to want to keep to that against these teams. I think the fact he brought those subs on and it worked, I think he'll stick with that for the next game. So I'm a little bit worried about Foden in this game, given what happened last night. So I think if anything, he's going to keep on with that tactic, which seems to be working for him. It's not particularly flash to watch in the fact that they're scoring loads and loads of goals, but it's effective and they're winning matches and they're keeping it tight at the back. So I expect Mahrez and Grealish to start again, at least in the first match of Game Week 20.
Good question here from Johnny Boy London. Keep one of Darwin or Salah. So for those like you, you've got both. I've only got Darwin myself. So is it worth keeping both? Is it worth keeping a bit of Liverpool? What do you think?
Well, I'm keeping both, but it is a lot of money to have tied up in there, and it kind of depends what you're going to do. I'd be tempted to keep Salah if I had to out of the two options. But if you're looking at somebody like De Bruyne this week, then obviously you're going to probably need to sell Salah and then keep Darwin. But I don't think the fixtures are too bad for Liverpool. I think that Brighton game, will be goals in that. I think with Chelsea going to Anfield, I can see Liverpool scoring a couple of goals then. So I'm not against holding on to both of them, and it's probably what I'll do. But if you had to sell one, it'd probably be Darwin.
Yeah, definitely. I think if I had Salah, I'd be tempted to keep, but that De Bruyne getting a double game week would be tempting, I must admit. But yeah, Darwin, I'm quite happy to jettison. GV Subranyam asks, so apologies for that, GV. Kane has played 19. Basically, what's the situation with his yellow card? Basically, it's 19. He has to play 19 games.
He's got 4 yellow cards, basically. If he gets a booking in the North London derby, he will miss the second match of the double game week. If he gets through the Arsenal game, then it doesn't matter. He has to get to 10 yellow cards after that. So all he has to do is avoid that first double game week match, and then you don't have to worry about a ban for a while. But obviously, we could have another Mitrovic situation where he picks up a booking in the North London derby and misses the second game of the double, if even the double happens. There's a lot up in the air right now, isn't there?
Okay. Simon asked a verdict on Mason Mount. So let's assume Mason Mount is going to be fit. Is he still sellable or is he keepable?
Oh, I'd probably sell him. Yeah, I think you might get a game out of him now, but I think there's a lot of other good options at that price point at the moment. Potter absolutely loves to tinker, as you know, Joe.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing enough from that Chelsea attack at the moment to keep hold of their players. So if you have him, I think there's quite a few appealing options around that price bracket which you could look at, especially at Manchester City.
Yeah, and also Arsenal as well. So FPL Cowboy asks best 2 Arsenal attackers. So for me, Saka is on penalties and one of Martinelli and or Odegaard, or all 3 of them. When their fixture's good, if they get a double, I think that would be a smart tactic. But yeah, what do you think? Who are the best 2, do you think?
Martinelli and Saka.
Yeah, I think that's what I'll end.
Odegaard has been incredible this season, but those are the 2 which, when I'm watching Arsenal from the kind of the flank positions, I think over a longer spell, I think they'll be the 2 top scoring Arsenal attackers, in my opinion.
Okay, we've got let's have a few more if you've got enough time, Tom. So we've got loads of questions here, so we'll try and get through as many as we can, but apologies if we don't get to you. Nearly 500 in the live chat, so do welcome to you all. Slaughter PFK, guys, what do we think about Rodrigo, the Leeds Rodrigo, that is? Great 6 game weeks in a row. Sorry, I just tuned in, he said. No, we hadn't mentioned him before. So, yeah, what do you think? I mean, I've been reluctant to go for him because I just think, lead striker, I just can't quite, there's other options, cheaper options. But, yeah, he does keep scoring. So,
yeah, I think I was a bit put off him before the World Cup because Bamford always seemed to be kind of coming back. A lot of Leeds fans who I kind of know were saying he's completely nailed, but Bamford's still having issues, and he seems to be playing and scoring. He's a cheapish midfielder in FPL, so I think there's loads to like about him. We had him in the scout picks this week. Credit to Neil for that one who stuck him in, and I think he's doing really well. What is it? It's Villa, Brentford, Forest in the next 3, so decent fixtures, and I think I really like him as an option for that run.
FPL Spartans, regarding defenders in FPL, other than Trippier, isn't the play now just to go for centre-backs who are more nailed? Their expected goals is no worse than most wing-backs or full-backs. They're cheaper in general. For example, Kanji and Stones instead of Cancelo. I agree. I've always done that anyway. I've always been more of a Willy Bolly than a Alt-Nori kind of guy.
Yeah, I think Stones looks probably the best. If you're going to go for a City defender, I think he looks the best option. If you don't want to go for, obviously, Edison in goal, then probably Stones for this double. I don't know about longer term. Once Laporte's back, it obviously changes. But for this double, if they get it, then I think Stones at this moment in time is where I'd be looking. But yeah, the fullbacks is interesting, isn't it? I mean, Alexander-Arnold and Robertson were so good last year, but Liverpool aren't keeping clean sheets. They've shown a bit of signs of life recently, but I don't think we're going to stick £7 million into Alexander-Arnold if they're not keeping clean sheets. So, yeah, maybe the centre backs. I mean, at Arsenal, I've got Gabriel, you've got White, so maybe that is where we should be. Looking, I mean, talking of wing backs and stuff, Spurs have got this double. It's not great, but Doherty's looking good at the moment as well. So might be somebody to look at.
Next question from Kevin Wing is Cancelo to Doherty and Ward to Edison for a -4 worth a punt. So let's just say it's not a -4. Just say, is it worth it in general? He's saying it keeps the City defence with arguably the most nailed defensive asset in Edison, and adds another double game week player possibly in Doherty. But yeah, Cancelo to Doherty, I like. I mean, I got rid of him in the game week 17 wild card as it was. Yeah. He was in my team before Christmas, but I got rid of him because I didn't think he'd be nailed on. I didn't think he'd do much, and hey presto, he's propelling other people up the leagues who kept him. So I don't mind that. I don't mind that move.
No, we spoke about Doherty a lot during the break because he was playing these friendlies for Spurs and he scored, I think, 3 goals during the kind of the mid-season friendlies. So I stuck him in the differentials in game week 17. I was really disappointed with the first couple of weeks back. Spurs just weren't themselves, lost to us, and didn't look great, but then they came back with a bang, got the first click. They've been conceding a lot lot of goals recently, Spurs, but they kept the clean sheet at Selhurst Park. He's so dangerous. I mean, I think he had 4 shots inside the box or something the other night, and he's only 4.6 million. I think Conte spoke about him after and said he's a top goal scorer for her now. So he's getting into good positions. And I mean, look, they're probably not going to keep a clean sheet in this double, so you're going to be relying on attacking returns, but they play Fulham the week after, and at 4.6 million, you can bench him after that, can't you? No problem with that if he's got a tougher fixture. So, I think Doherty's always a fun player to own, isn't he?
Yeah. It is a question. I'll give the answer before I give the question. In a heartbeat. Would you go Darwin to Kane in one move? There's the answer. Yep. I wouldn't even think about it. Just do it.
Yeah, probably. If you could do it in one move, I get the appeal for this week. For people who have got teams like me, it's not quite so simple. No. It's a bit of risk with the yellow cards, but Kane, double game week, loves the North London derby. Spurs have done pretty well against City in the past under Conte as well. So, I probably would.
J77 Lag, are you guys tempted to triple captain Haaland if there is a double? I must admit, I've thought about it because his captaincy is going to be 200. His effective ownership, there's going to be a lot of people triple captain him. His effective ownership will probably be around 200,000, 200% at least. So therefore, if you don't triple captain him, anything he gets will cost you. But I don't know whether you'll get much more. I don't know. I'm tempted, but I probably won't. What about you?
I'm not going to triple captain him. No. I'm pretty sure of that. But it is quite. I mean, I went early with Salah with the triple captaincy when he had those 2 good fixtures against Norwich and Leeds last year, and it worked out really well. And then some people saved it a bit later on in the season. So I get why some people think now is a good time to do it because there's no European commitment. So it's simpler or easier to predict starts and things like that. But I just don't like this double on paper. I think United, Tottenham. I just think. Yeah, of course he could explode against them, but United are looking really good at the moment. And I just think I'd rather target. I think they will get, City are probably going to progress in the Cups. And if they progress in the Cups, that creates opportunities later on in the season for doubles. And I think that I'd rather leave it and go for something. Even a couple of mid-table clubs will be better than United and Spurs. So, no, I'm not really looking at that.
Okay, we've got time for one more question. A lot of the other questions, this all already been answered in sort of, around Kane and Darwin and those types of things in Manchester City. But it's about Van Dijk's injury as well. So he might not be that well owned. There'll be a few owners out there as well. But is it worth looking at an alternative there? Because it does mean that likes of Konate and Matip will get more game time, you would imagine. So is it worth going for a Liverpool defender if you can't quite reach to, you're shaking your head already, Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold?
Don't trust them defensively at all watching Liverpool at the moment. So even if you can get, Konate, what is he? Is he 4.9 or something? I can't remember. Yeah.
I mean, they're around that. You sort of, I mean, they've been, FPL does price quite well. So, you get what, that's what it is really. It's a Liverpool defender.
I think with mean, Brighton, I expect will score past them. I mean, like you say, you're looking pretty good in attack right now. You've then got Chelsea, which I don't think is I think these fixtures are better for Liverpool's attackers than they are for their defenders. And I think that they then play Newcastle a few weeks after that. If they were to get a double in 21, maybe it changes things. But I can think of 4 or 5 better players to invest in than a Matip or a Konate at the moment, I think.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for joining me, Tom. Thanks a lot for the 500 or so of you join us in the live chat for First Goals Imminent video and podcast. We'll be back again. We're going to be on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. We won't be next Tuesday because this is sort of next Tuesday's one. We're just doing it a bit early because all bar one of the Game Week 19 matches, Fulham's clash with Chelsea, have actually taken place now. So we have the date. We have pretty much all the data going forward for the moment. But we'll be back on a Tuesday before Game Week 21, not next week, the week after, and thereon onwards. And eventually we might have a captaincy video back again when we feel that there's something more to talk about rather than just simply Haaland. And end it there. But in the meantime, thanks so much for joining us. And thanks for all your questions. Good luck in Game Week 20. And good luck those teams that are playing the FA Cup. The fans of teams who are playing the FA Cup as well, because it's one of those great weekends where the so-called lesser teams can have their moment in the sun and hopefully beat the bigger teams. So thanks a lot, and see you soon, Tom.
Thanks, Joe. See you soon.